Hi, I'm Rabbit Squirrel. I made Driftwood. This is a making of video. Here at Make Blue Manuals. I wanted to try them out because ZN Freak made them back when I was first starting out, and I thought they were super cool. And they sort of gone out of vogue, but I wanted to see if I could do them. And Get It made like a 3-second Blue Manual start. And I was like, this is as good as an opportunity as it's gonna get for. And it was originally for the battle that Shotoku started, the synchronized battle royale. And I thought it was just going to be like this little track that just, I'll do Blue Manuals and add some scenery, and then it turned into this massive thing. And then here you can see me planning a little bit. Most of it's not on video, but I plan out a wireframe of the boards before, like, I start from the end and I work to the beginning, and I have the sunset planned out right from the beginning. And then I did all this sort of curvy stuff with these angles on the upper section, and then I tried out like 5,000 different styles for this upper section. It took forever to find one that would look remotely good. Because I like this idea of having this structure that sort of like I sort of did in a Father's Day Line Rider, but I wanted to do it like a serious track, and I like the idea of using boards because that's one of my things is boards. And I had this idea from this track I made. It was called Unnamed Track. It's in my junk channel, but it was this bad naked track I made a long time ago, but I said it was going to be seen at the end of the video, and the original idea was that it was going to be this big wooden structure on a beach, and so I was like, hey, I'll do that theme for this track. But then when I got to the first section, I realized, like, this first section it's so far up in the sky, I don't know how to make it like part of this structure. It just doesn't make sense. So I sort of took a leaf out of Bing Line Rider's book and Ingenuity and made a different abstract section to start it off. And here you can see I tried out like 50 things, and I eventually settled on this thing that's sort of inspired by trance. I used the angle indicator both for the lines inside and for the little shadow, like not the cross hatching, but the small shadows on the edges. And then the cross hatching, I used a 45-degree snap for that. So big thanks to Kevin's. I couldn't have made this shading without this version. What else do I want to talk about? Yeah, for when I say something else. I guess that's pretty much it. I did like this other track a long time ago called Caves. That was like sort of like this, but like really crappy. But I really liked it for the tiny amount of work it did. So I like the idea of having this cave. Also playing with the idea of like, I don't know, starting with not really playing with the idea, but starting with abstract and then moving into realistic by the end. I thought that was kind of cool. And then I found a song that synced pretty well. All right, boards. Let's talk about the boards. So it was kind of cool to try to make these curves into something that looked, something that was sort of constructed by these rectangular things. And I think it was a pretty cool idea to like put the shadow to cover the track, the double line shadow to cover the track, and so it looks geometric when it's actually smooth. But what happened was I ended up with this light source problem where I had to make the light coming from away from, like, it had to be on the opposite side of wherever the track was, and so I ended up sort of bending the light source around a bit, and it's not really noticeable if you watch the track, but I sort of had a little bit of thinking to do to figure that out. I started doing it was at the beginning of the section. I started doing like squiggles for both, like I did in both the wall, but then they just didn't look good. It didn't fit with the first section, so I ended up going with a sort of abstract look of what Depot did at the end of Millennium. But it also turns out it kind of looks like what I did in Expedition, so whatever. You can see part of the process here is I'm trying to figure out which boards go on top and which boards go underneath, and I sort of draw smaller lines over the big lines of the wireframe, and then I erase the smaller lines to make certain ones be on top or underneath in like the depth of the track. And that was kind of confusing when there were like 7 or 8 on top of each other, trying to figure out how the structure actually fit together. There was actually one section that I was trying to make this really consistent, because people liked archaeology a lot. I thought because it was simple but consistent, and it gets really fast and it's still consistent. So here I tried to be really consistent as well. I think it turned out pretty good, but there was like one section here that I'd like drew a whole bunch of shading in, and then I realized it was way more dense than an earlier part, so I had to just start over with that section. That was really annoying, but that's what happens. I split the scenery once to help with the lag, but then I wasn't able to split it again because for consistency's sake I wanted to do like all the boards at once, and then all the water, and then all the sand, and then all the clouds, and I had these clouds that were like just barely into the second split, and I didn't want to do them early, so I had to try to do it all in the second split, and it worked, but it was pretty laggy. It was like 31,000 lines in a split. It was pretty big. Let's see, what else? I'm not done with the boards in the video yet, but I didn't get any footage of the water, so I'm going to start talking about the water. The shoreline was the tricky part. I basically lifted the water style from Transcendental by TechDog, and it was super easy to copy, and it was like, I don't know why no one else has done that before, because it looks so cool, and it didn't take long. Basically you just do white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, and then you sort of fill in parts of the white, and so you have this sort of and then it just looks like water. But the shoreline was hard because there's no shoreline in Transcendental that you can see, and I tried out a bunch of different things, and Orthos helped me pick the one that was the right one, like the best one I could come up with. And and I left this space, I left this little white, a little bit of white space around the boards, or the water, so you could actually see the boards. And I think that was a good choice. Here you can see me working on the sand. Ghosty helped me come up with this idea after I was just going to do squiggles, and it, like I did in Bolt of the Wall, and it just looked bad, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And Kevinson just made this dots feature, and so I ended up just abusing this dots feature to the nth degree. And I think it turned out pretty good, but I think I could have made the gradient from like, there's like spots where it's dense and spots where it's less dense. I could have made that a little more exaggerated. But whatever. Also fun fact about the dots, they only appear at like zoom 250. If you zoom out anymore, they start flickering in and out of existence. Dots was the sand was the most tedious part. Oh, and here's the sunset reflection. Here's a sunset reflection. This is a little tricky, like I couldn't figure out what I wanted, but eventually it was like, oh, if I just leave a lot of the white, black, white, black thing, then I get this sort of cool gray, which just sort of ends up also being taking a leaf out of Transcendental. Here are the clouds. The clouds were brutal. They were just hard to come up with, like, how do you densely, because they had to be dense shading to fit with the rest of the track, but they're clouds. They're supposed to be lighter than the background, but I couldn't make the sky black, because if I made the sky black, then the whole beginning would have to be black. How would I transition? So yeah, they were kind of hard, but I eventually it's really hard to motivate myself to work on them, but I eventually just found something that worked all right, and then just powered through. And I think it turned out pretty good. I think you don't notice that they're bad, which is, the best thing that I could have hoped for. And the sunset. Let's talk about the sunset monument. Lilac wine, that's where the rays come from. The sort of horizontal shading lines next to the sun, that's from Continental by LRG. And yeah, I think it turned out really well. It was originally inspired by Sorvius, but I think it looks a lot better. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.